Hello, namaste. So for this practice, we'll begin in a child's pose. So kneel down, bring your big toes together, open your knees as wide as is comfortable for you. Take your hips back towards your heels and rest your torso on top or between your thighs. And then if it's accessible and comfortable for you, stretch your arms forward and rest your forehead on the mat. And allowing in this first pose to gravity do the work for you. Take a deep inhale through your nose, fill your body with breath. Open your mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Twice more, inhale deep. Exhale. Last time, inhale. Exhale, let it go. And closing your lips softly, begin to move the breath through your nose, going in, going out. And see if you can begin by extending your breath, lengthening both inhale and exhale. And see also if you can make your inhales mirrors of your exhales. And another way of saying this is trying to give back the same amount as you take in. We begin this life on earth with a first breath, taking something in. And we leave this life by giving that same something back. And the invitation for today as you move and flow through this practice is to see if you can cultivate all those breaths in between your first and your last to be balanced, to cultivate the intention that as much as we receive from the world around us, as much as we take, we find it in ourselves to give the same amount back. So a few moments here in Ubuntu Yoga, we try to bring the inquiry, the question, how may I serve? By cultivating this balance, not only in breath, but in thought, word, and action. How may I serve myself, those around me, and the earth that sustains me? So maybe plant the seed of this intention in your heart. Continue to move the breath in and out through your nose. If it's comfortable, enter Ujjayi breath. Otherwise, just stay with this extended breath. Lengthen your arms forward a little bit more. Give them a little bit more activation. Wake them up slightly. And on your next inhale, come up to tabletop pose, all fours positions on hands and knees. Aligning shoulders right above the wrists, hips right above the knees, and pause there and notice, did something change in your awareness with this first movement of your body? Can you keep the breath throughout the practice, balanced, fluid, and deep? And from here, on an inhale, cow pose. So bring your chest forward, tilt the tailbone up and back, spread your chest, roll the shoulders down the back. How's that breath? See if you can press the floor away with your hands. Take another inhale here, tuck your toes, And as you exhale, downward facing dog, take your hips up to the sky and pause this first cycle. If you need to modify down dog, give the knees a slight bend, making sure that you're honoring the most important part of this pose, which is keeping the spine long. So if for whatever reason you feel your tail is tucking or your spine is rounding, give your knees a bend and then press with your arms so that your chest is trying to come near your thighs and you're pointing your tailbone, your hip back. See if you can bring the weight more into the legs, making your arms a little bit lighter. How's your breath? Where is your gaze? And from here, on your next inhale, slide forward to plank pose, upper push-up position. Pause for this first cycle. Shoulders are still above the wrists. Press your heels back, and if you need to adjust and wiggle your feet back, feel free to do so. And as your heels are pressing back, see if you can press the backs of your thighs up towards the sky and then lengthen your heart forward so that you're really creating this long line of energy from your crown of the head forward to your heels back. Take a last inhale here. And as you exhale, drop the knees to the ground and come back to child's pose. Just take your hips towards your heels. Find your breath. And we're going to flow through this series for 3 more cycles, linking breath and movement together. So on your next inhale, come up to cow pose directly. So that little back bend, spread your chest forward. As you exhale, downward facing dog, press your hips up and back. Inhale to plank, lengthen forward, arms, legs strong. Exhale, child's pose, knees down, hips back towards your heels. 2 more. Inhale up to cow pose, spread the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips up and back. Inhale to plank, lengthen your whole body. Exhale, knees down, hips towards the heels. Last time through, inhale up, all fours, and spread the chest into cow. Breathe deep. Exhale, downward facing dog. Press your hips up and back. Legs are strong. Inhale forward to a plank pose. Lengthen. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Last time here today. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Sigh it out, let it go. Keeping that intention set, that seed growing on your next inhale. Come back up to tabletop pose, all fours position. Squaring everything off, and ask yourself, how do you feel? What do you need today? And I get to remind you that this is your practice. Nobody lives inside your body except yourself. So feel free to modify, go into child's pose, or skip anything that does not resonate with you today. From here, tuck your toes, take a last inhale. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. And we pause in down dog this time, breathe. So bring your attention to your hands and see if you can press the palms of your hands down, maybe focusing a little bit more on your inner hands, that muscle in between thumb and first finger. Press it down. And then with your upper arms, see if you can rotate the upper arms so that your armpits are facing towards your heart. Keep that. And then see if you can press your chest back towards your thighs as you point your sits bones towards the sky. And then you can straighten your legs. If you're there, your heels may reach the ground. They may never do. See if you can make peace with that. But wherever you are with your legs, make sure they're strong, activated, awake. And then from here, see if you can stay breathing and a slow walk with your feet towards your hands until you arrive into Uttanasana, the forward fold. And for this first time in Uttanasana, maybe spread your feet as wide as your hips and give your knees a slight bend so that you're really feeling that your chest is resting on top of your thighs. Drop the head, drop the shoulders, drop the arms, and what does it feel to have this freedom? Allowing your torso to offer no resistance towards gravity. And while this happens, your legs are supporting you in this pose. Even with a slight bend, your legs are strong. Now keeping your arms soft and relaxed, head as well. Imagine that you're a rag doll and softly start tucking your tailbone down, point it down, and begin by coming up, rolling up, vertebra by vertebra. Notice if you're still breathing. Arms are soft. Last things to come up are shoulders, neck, and finally crown of the head points up towards the sky and you arrive in Tadasana mountain pose. Connect the palms of your hands together and maybe plug them close to your heart. And as your feet are anchoring down to the earth and the crown of your head is pointing up towards the sky, you ask yourself one more time this question: how may I serve? By working on balance, giving back as much as I take in, how may I serve my life, the life of those around me, and the life on this planet that we all call home? Keeping that breath fluid and deep, drop the arms down by your sides into Tadasana once again. And we're going to flow through 3 cycles of half sun salutations A. Ardha Surya Namaskar A. So on an inhale, circle your arms up towards the sky, lengthen from tip to tip. On your exhale, hinge from your hips and fold forward into Uttanasana, that deep forward fold. Hands on the floor or your shins. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your heart forward. As you exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Once again, drop the head. Legs are strong. On an inhale, circle your arms up towards the sky. Palms connect at the top, maybe. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart center and then drop your arms down by your sides to Tadasana once again. Spin your arms, rotate them externally, palms are facing forward. 2 more cycles of this. Let's see if we can smooth it out. Inhale, circle your arms up, lengthen, grow tall. As you exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Empty yourself of breath. Inhale, heart forward, lengthen the spine, create space. Exhale, forward fold, drop the head, empty the lungs once again. Legs are strong, torso long. Inhale, circle your arms up, palms connect at the top. As you exhale, bring everything down the center line, connect with your heart. And last time through, arms down by your sides. Spin the arms. Inhale, circle the arms up towards the sky, reach. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Empty yourself completely. Flat back. Inhale, fill your lungs with breath. Exhale, forward fold. Drop the head, soften. Last time, circle your arms up to the sky. The legs are what's supporting you in this pose and movement. As you exhale, bring all that energy back to the center of your being and pause here for a second and notice what has changed just with these very soft and subtle movements. Now you stay at the top of your mat, but I'm going to ask Maria to face forward so that you can see her. And stand in Tadasana with your legs, but maybe spread your feet so that there's about a fist in between your feet and knees pointing forward, and drop your arms down by your sides once again. Legs are strong. On an inhale, circle your arms up to the sky. Keep them there and keep breathing. And as you exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana, bend your knees and sit your hips back and down. Pause here and breathe. So only go as low as you can while you can keep your heart facing forward. Now you're only in this pose twice in this practice, so we make it count. Keep breathing deep. And feel the tops of your thighs, your thigh bones, and see if you can take them back and then down. Descend those thigh bones down. Nice. Weight is in the heels. Torso long, arms are activated. How's that breath? Now find one point for your gaze in front of you and then start transferring. Shift your weight over to your left leg and lift your right leg up a couple of inches and pause. Honor the pause and make sense of what's happening. As you're ready, wrap your right thigh on top of the left, Garudasana, eagle pose. And with that right foot, you can place the toes down on the ground. You can leave that foot hanging, or you can double wrap that foot behind your left calf. Your choice, make it work for you. Once you have that, bring your arms forward parallel to the floor, and then right arm underneath the left, double cross if it's available to you, and pause here and breathe in eagle pose. See if you can bring the weight of that standing leg, your left leg, into the heel. And then once again, your thigh bones, the lower leg, the left leg, bring your thigh bone down towards the ground. And then see if you can suck the right thigh bone, the leg that's on top, back. Yes. Now see if you can press your forearms towards each other and then press your forearms forward as if you wanted to touch the wall in front of you. And bring all that energy in. Hug your whole body in towards itself, towards the midline. Maybe sit a little deeper. One last breath here. On your next inhale, fly away. So fly your arms towards the sky and kick that right leg forward and breathe. And right here, first you took all that energy in eagle pose, and now you're spreading it out. Again, this invitation to give back the same amount as you take in. Take one last inhale here, breathe. As you exhale, feet together, hands together at the center of your heart to connect. How's that feel? If you need to shake out that left leg, feel free. And from here, I'm going to ask you to bring your hands to the intersection between your thighs and your hips, your pelvis, and spread your feet wide as your mat. You're facing forward, top of the mat. We're going to come into Malasana, the yogic squat. So kick your heels in, point your toes out, maybe 45 degrees or less. It depends on your body, your anatomy. Bring your hands together at the center of your heart. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bend the knees and sit the hips down, all the way down to the ground, or as much as is comfortable for you, trying to keep the heels down on the floor. If the heels are lifting up, try spreading the legs wider apart, or sit on top of a block if you need a little bit more support today. And from here, this first cycle, we stay in Malasana. See if you can hook, bring your arms more inside of the legs and feel how the spine naturally rounds without forcing. And as you do that, see if you can keep your chest a little bit wide, receiving the breath. Notice the four corners of each foot pressing down, anchoring down to the ground. And how's your breath? Maybe feeling the heat along those hips, legs, shins maybe. One last breath here. Take a last inhale. As you exhale, palms down on the ground, lift the hips up, straighten the legs, and then walk the feet parallel, about a fist's distance away. Inhale, flat back, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana once again. On an inhale, circle your arms up towards the sky, palms connect at the top. As you exhale, bring everything back down the center line. Nice. And we move on to the other side. Drop your arms down by your side, mountain pose. On an inhale, circle your arms up towards the sky, keep them there. And as you exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana once again. Weight is in the heels, thigh bones, back and then down. And how's your torso? How's your chest? Can you find this balance where yes, you're sitting down into those legs, but yes, you're also finding length across your upper body, your torso? And how's the breath? How's your attitude and relationship towards this pose, which is a big challenge for most of us? Can you find softness in the breath, your face, your neck? Start shifting the weight over to your right leg. Find one point for your gaze and lift your right leg a couple of inches and allow your body and your brain to make sense of what is happening. Honor the pause. As you're ready, Garudasana on the other side. Wrap that left thigh on top of the right and find a place for that left foot on the ground, hanging, or double wrapping, your choice. Once you get that, bring your arms forward parallel to the floor. And this time, left arm underneath the right. Double wrap, or maybe just making your palms face each other. Find your place in this pose, and that movement that your body is making, it's its natural intelligence making sense of this change. Instead of rejecting it, what if you embraced it? Lower leg, that right thigh bone, see if you can descend it down into the ground as you're sucking the left thigh bone back, keeping your torso long, heart facing forward, forearms pressing towards each other and then pressing forward. How's that breath? Again, allow yourself to take in and receive. Bring all that energy in towards the midline, inside of you. Give it one last little squeeze there. On your next inhale, take flight, arms up, left leg forward, and now you give it back. Allow that energy from the center of your heart to expand outwards. How's that breath? How's that gaze? Take a last inhale here. As you exhale, feet together, hands together, center of your heart to connect. Shake it out if you need to. Last little piece here. Once again, bring your hands to your hips, that intersection between thighs and pelvis, and spread your feet for Malasana, once again, the yogi squat. And if that first cycle, it was challenging for you, maybe you can try to spread your feet a little bit wider. From here, palms to the center of your heart, connect. And this gesture, as well as being a gesture of prayer, is a gesture of connecting both sides of who we are, the give and the take, the yin, the yang, feminine, masculine, dark, light. Once again, this intention of taking in and giving back in a balanced, just way. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, bend the knees and sit the hips down into Malasana once again. And for this cycle, we're going to pulse it, and we're going to use the legs and the hip strength a little bit more. So listen close. On an inhale, you're going to straighten the legs as you circle your arms up towards the sky, palms connect at the top. As you exhale, sit down in Malasana once again and trace that center line with your hands. 3 more cycles of this. On an inhale, straighten the legs, give them juice. As you inflate the lungs, take that oxygen in. As you exhale, sit down in Malasana and empty yourself. Last 2. Inhale, circle the arms up. As you straighten the legs, press your feet down. Exhale, sit down low and let it go. Release. Last time through, inhale, straighten the legs, circle the arms, fill those lungs with breath. Exhale, sit down low and feel the release, the let go. Pause in Malasana. Last time you're here today. Take one last inhale. As you exhale, palms down, lift the hips up, straighten the legs into Uttanasana once again. Walk the feet parallel, and I'm going to ask Maria to come back to the top of the mat, and we meet there. From here, on an inhale, lengthen your heart forward and up. Nice. As you exhale, plant your hands down and step back into downward facing dog. So this practice is a vinyasa-less practice. And you can notice that even though we're not doing vinyasa, it can still be something strong, something where you can work out and work in at the same time. From this place, on an inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Make sure your hips are parallel, even, neutral. As you exhale, bring your right foot forward to the top of the mat and spin your back foot flat, aligning for first warrior. Maybe look at that back leg, making sure that there's congruency in the back leg, that your foot, your ankle, and your knee are pretty much facing in the same direction, and that those left toes are facing at an angle forward. See if you can suck the right thigh bone back. Yes. Keep bending that right knee and lengthen your heart forward. On your next inhale, lift the torso and arms up into first warrior. Pause and breathe. So you find your place in this pose. This is a very big pose, quite complex. It asks a lot of us. So take a moment to choose how much of this pose you are able and willing to do today. How is this pose serving you? working that right thigh, lengthening and strengthening that back leg, and lengthening the torso up. Your heart faces forward, gaze forward. Take one last inhale, first warrior. As you exhale, spread open wide into warrior two. So right arm forward, left arm back. And take a little time. For most of us, we need to spread our legs a little bit wider from warrior one to warrior two. And look at your feet and make sure that the front heel is aligning with either the back inner heel or back inner arch. Depends on your body, so you make the choice. Sit down deep into that right thigh and then suck that right thigh bone back. Nice. Wrap that right hip in and down maybe. And then spread your arms wide and breathe. Sit down into second warrior. Find your gaze and remember your intention, your purpose for this practice for today. How does it feel when you pause? How's that breath? Are you still trying to mirror your inhales with your exhales? Are you still looking to create that balance? Take one last inhale here. As you exhale, straighten that right leg. Keep your arms. Lengthen your thighs up. Strengthen. Give them a little bit more juice. And we're going to go into triangle pose. You may need a block for this pose. On an inhale, lengthen your right arm and torso forward as you kick your left hip back. Keep lengthening forward until you can't lengthen anymore. Right hand down, left hand up into Trikonasana triangle pose. So you find your place in this pose by asking yourself, is my spine long? And if the answer is no, I'm going to invite you to bring that right hand further up, maybe up towards your knee, not on the knee, but towards it. Or use a block and place your hand on a block on a higher height so that you're really keeping your spine long and straight. Nice. Spread your wings. Imagine that your arms are wings and spread them wide apart and give both legs more juice. Try to bring your thighs, the muscles in your thighs up towards your pelvis. And then see if you can lengthen your tailbone back towards that back heel and your heart forward to the wall that's in front of you. Now in this pose, we have a tendency to bring our whole torso forward. Can you imagine that there's a wall behind you and you want it to recline back on that wall? Yes, and breathe. Now from here, we transition into half moon. So bring that left hand to your left hip. Look down towards that right foot. Start bending your right knee and make sure that your knee track it right in front of those right toes, and make sure your chest is still looking towards the side, that it hasn't collapsed down towards the mat. If you need to, you can bring that back leg a little bit forward. Plant your right hand forward and a little bit to the right. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, lift that left leg up towards the sky. Half moon, Ardha Chandrasana pose. And give that back leg as much juice as you can. Flex that back foot. Imagine that you want to kick a wall behind you with that foot. As you're ready, you can bring that left arm up towards the sky and spread the wings once again. And same as you did in triangle pose, can you imagine there's a wall behind you, and with trust, try to recline your upper back and the back of your head on that imaginary wall. And as you did an eagle pose, see if you can embrace that little wiggle woggle that your right leg is doing. Can you embrace it as wisdom and intelligence, not of only the body, but the mind, the heart, the breath? From here, we transition back into Trikonasana. So left hand back to your hip if you need it. If not, keep it up. Start bending your right knee deeply, but give your left leg more juice. And then as you're ready, left foot makes contact with the mat. Once that happens, straighten the right leg and come back to triangle pose. Last second here. Feel your base, feel your feet anchoring down, legs are activated and strong. On your next inhale, lift your torso up, arms are spread out wide. As you exhale, hands to your hips, and turn your feet parallel so that your feet, your toes, are pointing towards your heart, the same direction as your heart. I'm going to ask Maria once again maybe to face forward so that you can see her. Legs are spread wide apart. Keep your hands at your hips. And we're going to go into temple pose here. So as you did in Malasana, turn your legs out, maybe 45 degrees, both legs. Feel it in your hips. And from here, take an inhale. As you exhale, bend the knees and sit your hips into temple pose. And before we move on, I'm going to ask you to look down and see your knees. And if your knees are knocking in, collapsing in, I'm going to ask you to maybe shorten your stance or point your toes a little bit more forward instead of all the way out, so that your knees are pointing pretty much in the same direction as your ankles and your toes. And from here, same thing that we did in Malasana. Bring your hands together at the center of your heart. Allow your tailbone to drop down towards the ground and see if you can lift your heart up and find your breath. Four corners of each foot is pressing down into the ground. Find your base, your anchor. And from here, we pulse. On an inhale, straighten your legs as you circle the arms up towards the sky, palms connect. As you exhale, sit down back into temple pose and activate those legs. Spread those hips open. 3 more cycles. Inhale, straighten the legs, circle the arms. Breathe. Exhale, sit down deep into temple pose. Nice. Inhale, circle the arms, straighten the legs, give them more juice once you're at the top. Exhale, sit down in temple pose and breathe and make it fluid, make it enjoyable. Last time. Inhale, fill the lungs with breath as you come up. Exhale, sit down into temple pose. Last time here, breathe. Maybe sit a little bit deeper, if not on your body, on your mind. Allow your mind to sit in this pose. Notice the sensations that are arising, and can you find serenity in the midst of intensity? Take one last inhale here, sit a little bit deeper. As you exhale, straighten the legs, hands to your hips, and turn your toes parallel, facing forward, same as your heart. From here, we go into Prasarita Padottanasana, a deep forward fold with legs wide. So on an inhale, legs are strong, point your heart towards the sky. And as you exhale, hinge from your hips, forward fold, torso and head in between your legs. And 2 options for you here. You can allow your hands to drop down so that they're right beneath your shoulders and stay there. Or you can reach with your hands and grab something wide of your legs, outer edges, ankles, shins. the variation that Maria is choosing, I'm going to ask her if it's available and possible for her to maybe bend the elbows a little bit outwards, yes, and use your arms as a lever to bring your chest closer in. And while you keep that going, can you slide your shoulder blades towards your tailbone, lengthening the neck? Yes. Now, same as with a forward fold, your torso is softening in this pose, but your legs are still activated. Can you feel your feet pressing down into the ground as you activate your thighs and you hug your outer hips in towards each other? Last couple of breaths here. Wherever your hands are, release them. Hands right beneath your shoulders. On an inhale, flat back, lengthen forward. Keeping that, walk your torso and your arms towards your right leg, the leg that's in the front. Maybe Maria will have to negotiate this until you find yourself into a runner's lunge. So right foot faces forward, same as your torso. Spin onto the ball of that back left foot. Pause there, nice. And from here, take your right arm inside your right leg. I'm going to ask you to walk that right foot a little bit towards the right, giving your torso and your hips some room. You're going to keep that back leg where it is, but open up your left foot, knee, and hip over to the right, a couple of degrees, maybe 10, 15 degrees. And stay here and breathe. Now legs. On your front leg, the right leg, feel your thigh bone, the right thigh bone, and see if you can descend it down towards the ground. Yes. Now what happened to the back leg? Can you press the left thigh bone up towards the sky? Nice. Keeping that, see if you can keep lengthening your heart forward. Create space in your chest, your upper back, throat, neck. Last couple of breaths here. And notice what happens when you hold the pose longer. For all of us, some parts of our bodies begin to collapse. We forget. And part of the practice of yoga asana is that it keeps us present if we keep coming back. What happened to my leg? What happened to my chest? What happened to my breath? Is it still there? And you may find if you keep going back to this self-inquiry, it's quite difficult, if not impossible, to be thinking of something else. Now from here, bring your right hand outside of the right leg, walk your right leg forward into a runner's lunge, and then relax your left knee down onto the ground. If you have sensitive knees, feel free to double up your mat or place a towel beneath that knee. And from here, we walk into single pigeon pose. So walk that right foot over towards the left, open up that right knee, and if you want something softer, bring that right heel closer to your pelvis, to your hips. Lengthening that back, left leg back, arms are forward. Make sure you're squaring your hips as much as is possible for you today. Take an inhale, spread your heart, spread your chest. As you exhale, walk forward. You can stay on your forearms. You can drop your head down towards the mat or find some point in between. And how's that intention right now? Are you still breathing in a way where you feel that whatever it is you take in, that you receive, you're making sure that you let go, that you give back? last few moments here. See if you can smooth the breath out. From here, with the help and strength of your arms, walk your torso back up. Hands as wide as the shoulders, palms flat. Tuck your back toes, the left toes, and lift that left knee. Give that back leg some juice. On an inhale, take that right leg up and back, 3-leg down dog. And as you exhale, right foot meets the left, traditional downward facing dog. Nod your head a little yes, soften the neck. Nod your head a little no, maybe. And we clear the slate and move on to the second and last side. On an inhale, lift that left leg up and back. As you exhale, left foot forward and spin the back right foot flat. Align for warrior one. Make sure that back leg is doing what you want it to do. See if you can suck the left thigh bone back and then lengthen your heart forward. So the whole point is not to feel that you have to sacrifice one thing for the other. Feel the strength in your base, your legs, and on an inhale, lift your torso up into first warrior, Virabhadrasana 1, and breathe. So for many of us, we've heard that warrior one, we need to bring the hips all the way forward. And while that is the intention, for most of us, we may never get there. That back hip may never turn all the way forward, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep that direction in mind and work constantly towards that. Give that back leg some juice, especially that inner leg. Can you stretch it even more than the outer leg? Yes. Can you sit down deeper into that left thigh? And what does actually need to be facing all the way forward is your heart and your gaze. Last time in warrior one, make it yours. Take a last inhale here. As you exhale, spread open wide into warrior two. Left arm forward, right arm back. Sit down deep. And again, that little dance with your feet, your legs, to find the width of your legs that you need for this pose. Wrapping that left hip under, sitting down deep. And to protect that left knee, see if you can press the left heel down. And then imagine that you wanted to track that left heel towards the back leg. So suck it in, back. Yes. That right leg is also firm. Sit in warrior two. Find your gaze, a point into that front left hand, and breathe. How are your shoulders right now? Are they trying to help going up towards your ears? Can you soften the shoulders down while keeping your arms strong? Can you find the right amount of effort in all your body where you can still find ease in breath and mind? Sit down a little bit deeper, maybe. Take a last inhale. As you exhale, straighten the left leg, and we're going into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Feel your base, feet are strong, planted down. Give both legs a little bit more juice, and on an inhale, lengthen left arm, torso forward, kick that right hip back. Keep lengthening forward until the last minute, left hand down, right hand up into Trikonasana. And once again, you ask yourself, and this is a different side, where do I need to place my left hand so that my back, my spine is still long? So I'm going to ask Maria, she's pretty bendy, to lower her hand a little bit so that she can really lengthen her spine, almost as if she wanted to make her spine parallel to the ground. Soles of the feet anchoring down. The legs are activated, they're awake. And then spread your wings. And you ask yourself, am I going into a back bend? Do I need to soften the ribs? Can I recline my upper back and the back of my head back into an imaginary wall so that my spine is really long and straight, receiving the breath? Last moment here. Into half moon. That top hand, bring it to your right hip. Look down. Start bending the left knee. Track it in the middle. Place your left hand where you need to, a little bit forward and towards the left. And as you're ready, lift that right leg up parallel to the ground. Half moon pose on the other side. You can keep your right hand where it is or lift it up as you're ready, if you're ready. And the more you activate that top leg, the right leg, the easier it is to float, because it doesn't weigh you down. Quite the opposite. That top leg is trying and helping you stay up. Spread your wings. Make sure that down leg, the left leg, is strong, anchoring down. Even with that wiggle woggle, even with that movement, your left leg is strong, holding you up. Tailbone back, heart forward. Take a last breath in half moon. And as you exhale, make your way back to triangle pose. So bending that front knee until you feel that back foot connect to the ground once again. And resist it a little bit. Give that back leg juice. And once you get there, straighten that front leg. Right arm up to the sky. Triangle pose last time here. Feel your base. Anchor the feet on an inhale. Torso up. Come up. Lift the torso. As you exhale, hands to hips, turn your feet parallel, toes facing the same way as your heart. How's that breath? And a practice can be strong without the need of vinyasa. Although we love vinyasas, we can care for our wrists and for other parts of ourselves and still get a good work out and a good work in. Temple pose, second and last time. Heels in, point your toes out, both legs. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, bend the knees and sit the hips down. And again, find a place, go as deep as you can and want to, but making sure that you're not sacrificing one thing for another. If you go so deep that the knees collapse inward, maybe you make a choice to go less deep so that you can keep integrity in your knees and your low back. How are your shoulders? How's that tailbone? Can you still drop it down towards the mat? Pressing all four corners of both feet down. Bring your hands together at the center of your heart. Last time here, we're going to pulse it once again. With your breath, on an inhale, straighten the legs, circle the arms up to the sky, palms connect at the top. As you exhale, sit down into temple pose. Feel the strength in your legs, your hips. 3 more times. Inhale, straighten the legs, lift the arms, fill the lungs. As you exhale, sit down into temple as you empty the lungs. Last 2. Inhale, circle up, breathe deep, connect. Exhale, bring everything down the center line. Last time through, inhale, come up, circle the arms. Exhale, sit down into temple pose. Pause there and breathe. And can you notice the sensations that are arising without identifying or attaching any meaning to them? Can you bring this wisdom and knowing to your practice that everything passes, nothing lasts forever? Sit down a little bit deeper. Take one last inhale, temple pose. As you exhale, straighten the legs, hands to your hips. Turn your feet parallel, toes face forward. Once again, legs are strong. On an inhale, point your heart towards the sky. Breathe. As you exhale, fold forward into Prasarita. Drop the head. Now, same thing as with your forward fold. If you feel that your spine is rounding, which is not Maria's case, but if it is yours, if you have tighter hamstrings, keep the pose, keep your legs strong, but maybe bend the knees a little bit forward, not in. So try not to knock them in towards each other, and keep the pose. This way you're making sure that your spine is long and your legs are safe. Find the variation that works for you. Hands down beneath your shoulders or grab something wide. Second and last time you're here today. So first, feel your base. Anchor the feet down. Lengthen and strengthen the legs, hugging the outer hips in. And then if you're holding something wide with your arms and your hands, use your arms as little levers to bring your chest closer to your thighs. And as you do that, can you slide the shoulder blades towards your tailbone so that you can lengthen the neck? And if the top of your head touches the ground, great. If it never does, it's also perfect. But if it does, see if you can create a tiny little pressure with the top of your head down towards the ground as you slide the shoulder blades up and you point the tailbone up, and you create this beautiful rebound energy all along your spine. And the other variation, if the head does not reach the ground, is you can place a block underneath your head and do that little action with the block. So we make the poses work for us, not the other way around. You're perfect just as you are. You're just trying to improve upon yourself, not change who you are. Release the hands from wherever they are, hands underneath the shoulders. Come up into your fingertips, inhale flat back, lengthen your heart forward. Keep that, and as you keep breathing, walk towards your left leg, towards the front leg, until you find yourself into a runner's lunge once again. So left knee is bent, right leg is straight on, you're on the ball of that back foot. Keeping that, bring your left hand to the inside of your left leg and walk your left foot a little bit over to the left, just until you feel that your torso and your hips have space. Keeping that, flex your left foot and open it up into an angle a couple of degrees, making sure, same thing, toes, ankle, and knee of that front leg are facing the same way. Find your breath and then feel the pose. With that front left thigh bone, see if you can suck it back and then descend it down into the ground. Yes. And then can you counter that, pressing the right thigh bone up towards the sky, and feel how that makes your low back spacious and wide. Now, what happened to your chest? Is your chest collapsing? Could you begin to lengthen your heart forward, keeping space for the breath to be received? Where's your gaze? Where's your intention? And same thing, notice, observe. Which parts of me forget or collapse the more I stay in the pose? Can I continue going back to all these actions, reminding the different parts of my body, myself, to stay awake and stay present in the here and now. Last few moments here. Bringing your left hand outside of your left leg. Bring the left leg back to center, runner's lunge. Relax your right knee down on the mat or on top of a blanket. And from here, walk yourself over to single pigeon pose. So walk your left foot over to the right. Allow that left knee to open wide. And if this is too much for you, bring that left heel closer to your pelvis as much as you need to. And if that isn't enough, you can sit your left hip on top of a block. Lengthening that right back leg back. Take an inhale here. Open the chest, spread wide. And as you exhale, walk your torso, arms, and head forward. And if you want to stay on your forearms, you can. If you want to bring a block and place it so that your forehead can rest on top of the block, that's also great. Blocks, blankets, straps are sometimes viewed as crutches, as something only the weak use, but in reality, we make use of the tools we possess to live our lives as safely, the most fulfilling way. So use whatever you have available to make your practice work for you. Wherever you are, walk yourself back towards a vertical spine. Hands beneath your shoulders, shoulder width apart. Tuck your back toes, the right toes, and lift that right knee. Give that back leg some juice. And on your next inhale, lift that left leg up and back, 3-leg down dog. On your exhale, left foot meets the right. Traditional downward facing dog. Last time you're here today. Find your pose. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Fill yourself completely, fully, exaggerated breath. Open your mouth wide. Exhale. Relax your knees down on the ground. Crawl your whole body forward, 3/4 of the way forward maybe. Cross your ankles, sit down, and extend your legs forward into Dandasana, staff pose. Flex the feet, press the thighs down, and place your hands on the mat right beside your hips. And feel this change, this shift. Anchoring yourself down to the present moment once again. And from here, very gently roll all the way down towards the mat. Once your head makes contact, hug the knees in, and we come into what we call happy baby pose, Ananda Balasana. So bring your knees towards your chest. Open the knees a little bit wide and grab the outer edges of your feet with your hands. Palms are facing each other ideally. And if you have long arms like some of us, the hands stay on the outside of the legs, but your arms can come into the inside of your legs, your inner knees, making the pose more accessible. And if this is challenging for you, the variation is you can keep the pose, but instead of grabbing the feet, you can grab the backs of the thighs instead. So once again, make it work for you. And you can rock side to side a little bit. Make this pose a release pose. Allow those hips to breathe, to soften after the work they did. How's that breath? You may notice that the breath is slowing down, but can you keep still this intention of making your inhale a mirror of your exhale, giving back as much as you take in. Pause in child's pose at the center. Release the feet and wrap your right thigh on top of the left so that your right knee is right on top of the left. And then if it's possible for you, grab once again the outer edges of the feet with your hands. If it's not accessible to you, you can grab the shins, the calves, or you can modify by separating the knees and crossing at the height of the shins, sort of like a Sukhasana variation, and it's the same pose, just a little bit less intense. So find your place. And palms are still facing each other ideally, unless it's not accessible. There you go, and breathe. How are your shoulders? Are they working too much? Can you soften them? Playing a little bit, how much you separate the feet, how much you lift them away from the hips, how much you bring your knees close to your chest, or how much you take them further away. Where do you hit that sweet spot where you say, yes, this is the place where I'm exposing and touching my hips right in the exact way that they need it today. Now keep what you have in the legs, but spread your arms open wide into a T or a cactus position, your choice. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, drop your legs over to the left. And if this variation of a twist does not work for you, you can unwrap the legs and come into a more gentle twist. And imagine there is a weight on that right shoulder. And without forcing, see if with your breath you can invite that shoulder to drop down into the earth. And can you allow yourself in this pose to not work at all and just relax? Winding down from the practice. Same concept of balance. You've already given those muscles work. Can you allow them to relax now? Take a last inhale here, and on your next exhale, bring your knees back to center. Unwrap that right leg, hug your knees in, or come back into a happy baby pose for a second before we move on to the other side. So just release. Clear the slate, neutralize. And as you're ready, wrap your left thigh on top of the right, or the other variation you choose, and grab the outside edges of your feet, palms facing each other ideally, but if you're sacrificing something for that, then find a place for your hands. And then once again, play. And one hip feels quite different than the other for most of us. So play, investigate, explore. What happens if I pull my feet away from the hips? What happens if I bring my knees closer to my chest or take them farther away? What happens if I allow my pelvis to tuck and lift away from the mat? And what happens when I keep it on the mat? Keep the legs. Open your arms wide into a T or cactus position. Once again, take an inhale. As you exhale, drop the legs, the knees over to the right. Last pose of the day. If you need to slide your hips over to the left, I forgot to mention that on the first side. And then allow gravity once again to do the work for you as you begin the practice. Release all effort. Take a last inhale here. And as you exhale, bring your knees back to center. Unwrap the left leg, hug your knees in, and for a moment, bring the energy, the quality of gratitude to the front of your mind and your heart. And briefly, what are you thankful for today? See if you can keep that energy present. Hug your knees closer. Take an inhale, and on your exhale, bring your forehead up to your knees if it's available. Hug yourself in, and maybe give yourself thanks. Take one last inhale here. As you exhale, Shavasana, feet down, and then lengthen your legs forward and down. Allow your feet to drop down by the sides, no efforting. Allow the shoulders to drop down, palms face up. And find yourself in this pose where you allow everything that you cultivated throughout the practice to be integrated, digested, and absorbed by every dimension of who you are. Body, mind, heart, soul. Last active breath to completely drop down. Take a deep inhale, take it all in. And through your mouth, exhale, let it all out. And I'm going to invite you to stay in this pose for at least a couple of minutes more. On my side, I'm going to say this practice is concluded. And together we say, UBUNTU, I am because we are. Namaste.